Hi everyone, welcome to the ElectricmotorGP show. My name is Nee and I am your usual host. And today I wanted to talk to you about the BYD Seagull. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about the BYD Seagull is it's probably one of those cars that's been underrated for a long time. A lot of countries wanted to get access to this car. And for whatever reasons, whether the importers or BYD themselves, they couldn't make up their mind if this was a car they were going to bring to the Western world. Probably having to do with the fact that the level of kit that was in it for the Chinese market would definitely not pass through regulatory requirements for most of the developed world. And this in itself was one of those things that ensured that people needed to have a think about what was going to happen, what they were going to do to it, and if there was a way to make things a little bit better. And in typical BYD fashion, they did put a lot of effort into it, realized what needed to go into for it to get its ANCAP ratings and all the other things that were going to be required for it. And I think one of the other things they also wanted to do was to make sure that it didn't lose what was its most fun appeal in the first place, which it's a nimble and easy car to drive, easy to park in cities, decent range for the price that you're paying for it, and more importantly, it was very, very comfortable. And for this, BYD had to do some research, understand what was going to be required for the ANCAP and NCAP ratings for Europe and for the UK and Australia and New Zealand, and also try to figure out and ensure how they did it in such a way that it still delivered the best value for money. And I think the culmination of that was the fact that earlier on this year in New York, it won Best Urban Car. And that's a big feat for BYD in the sense that it's their first major win at an award ceremony across multiple car segments, across multiple car brands. And to put it into context, a lot of people thought the Hyundai Insta was going to win this particular award, and it didn't. Why is the BYD Seagull or Dolphin Mini or Surf or Dolphin Surf class as such a fantastic car? It has to do with its value proposition. So put it into context. The price point for the BYD Seagull, even the international edition, in China is roughly about $10,000 to $12,000 Australian. But by the time you put the logistics of shipping, conversion to ride and drive, logistics of the home markets and marketing and sales and everything else that goes into it, the price is definitely going to bump up. So the head of products for BYD in Australia said, look, they've gone back to the table now that it's launched in Europe, now that it's launched in the UK. They're thinking that it might come to Australia as well. And if it's going to be coming, it's going to be coming at a price point of about 20. Now, a little bird told me, and I'm not going to be allowed to say which this little bird told me this, but said that they're expecting that the price point is going to be somewhere about $21,000 to $22,000. Now, to put it in a context, it doesn't mean it's the cheapest car that's going to be available, but again, you've got to think about what value proposition this car is bringing to the table. The second half of this video, I'm going to do something I don't routinely do. I've written down a lot of specs, but I'm going to compare the BYD Surf Mini, Seagull, whichever way you want to call it, to a Toyota Yaris. And the reason why I've chosen the Yaris to do this video is because the Yaris is one of those cars that lots of people swear by, and they say, look, this is this, it's reliable, I've always had this car, I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay, I don't have to worry about it, which may be true. But when you start to think about the value proposition of the car again, like I was saying earlier on, then you start to realize that you're just kind of stuck in the fact that this is something we've always done, and therefore we're going to do it because we're comfortable with it. And like most human beings, we are dreadfully, dreadfully afraid of change. And not all change is bad. Some change is good, and not all change is good. Some change is bad. However, knowing fully well what the value proposition of this car is means that it's easier for you to segment this car, to understand what this car offers, and then gives you a good point. So enough about me talking, let's talk about numbers. So what is the size of the BYD? The BYD is under 4 meters. It's about 3.8, 3.9 meters in its length. It's 1.75 meters in its width, and it's roughly about 1.5 meters in its height, thereabouts. But the key point in there is that you've got two battery points. One's a 30 kilowatt hour battery, and the other was about a 38 kilowatt hour battery. The difference between both of them is that one will give you roughly about 250 thereabouts kilometers WLTP, and the other will give you roughly about 300 kilometers WLTP. For those of you who are thinking about it from a metric basis, the 250 will give you about 137 miles, and the 300 will give you roughly about 180/200 kilometers. But for everyone who's tried to test drive this car, they've all come back to say, look, it's punching above what BYD says you're going to get from it. The last group of videos that I looked at while researching this said on average they were getting roughly about 12 kilowatts per 100 kilometers, which if you convert gives you roughly about 300 kilometers on the base model and gives you roughly about 340, 350 on the bigger battery, and which is fantastic in the sense that you're paying what I will call a relatively affordable price for it, and you're getting that much range. More importantly, I think also it has to be with the safety features that the car is going to get. BYD is expecting this car to get an NCAP and an ANCAP of 4 stars. And I think the only reason why it's not getting the 5 stars is because for you to get 5 stars at the moment, you're required to have 7 airbags in the car. And the 7 airbags means that if you don't have an airbag in the middle to prevent the driver and the passenger from knocking heads, you're not going to get 5 stars. But if you think about the other things that you get, if you remember what BYD said in February, every single car that's come to the market will have God's IC as standard. And this includes the BYD Seagull. And the BYD Seagull will have God's IC, which means it will have a minimum of a level 2 ADAS system, which is lane centering, adaptive cruise control, emergency lane keep assist, your road signs and road sign recognitions, and all of that will come as standard in this car. When you think about it, the Toyota Yaris is not going to be able to compete in any of those things. And I'll come back to the things that I say when I'm doing the comparison. Now, we know that the price for England has been confirmed. Base model is going to be 18,650, and the top spec model is going to be about 19 to 20,000 pounds. Like I said, the little birdie told me that we're expecting the base price for Australia to be about $21,000, with the top spec being about $24,000. Don't quote me on this. This is something I've just been told. Only time will confirm. It hasn't even been confirmed for Australia just yet. But it kind of gives you an idea of exactly what we're looking at. And if you look at in Europe, for example, which cars are there to compete with? You've got your ICE cars, so you've got your Toyota Aygo, you've got your Toyota Yaris. These are the cars that are in that segment. But then you've got your Dacia, which is in this segment. It's got 140 kilowatts, but it's a basic car with little or no frills or anything in there. And then the next thing that you can compare it to is the Hyundai Insta, which is almost about £6,000 or £7,000 more expensive, if not more than that. So you then realize how much of a value proposition this car is. Now, I'm going to compare the Yaris. I'm specifically doing this because I've had a few conversations with a few people who keep telling me, look, if we're going to buy a car, we're going to buy a Yaris because we know it, we trust it, it's got fewer recalls and whatever it is. So let's start off the bat. Blanket. With a BYD Seagull, you get 6 years warranty. Against the Toyota's 5. Is it 5 or 4? 5. Let's say 5. And on top of that, you've got about 160 Ks also as part of that warranty. Two things that the BYD Seagull beats the Toyota Yaris in. Then you've got emissions. 0 emissions in the BYD Seagull versus 45 or 70 grams. I can't remember off the top of my head. Size-wise, you're looking, like I said earlier on, the BYD Seagull is 3,890 or 990 meters, and the Toyota Yaris is 3,650 millimeters. So BYD wins with 1,720 versus 1,650. BYD wins. In terms of height, it's 1,590 versus 1,455 in the Yaris. The Seagull wins. And then the wheelbase, they're both about the same. But that's where it ends. And when you then look at the boot space, it's 170 litres in the Yaris versus 300 litres in the Seagull. And all of a sudden, you start to understand what I'm talking about. You've got a four-seater, ISOFIX points in the back. You've got I think it's a 12.8 on the upper model and a 10.8 or 10.11 or something like that on the lower spec. You've got an 8.8 driver instrument cluster, which means that this, and everyone agrees with me on this, the Toyota cars are way behind on the infotainment system and way behind on the driver instrument cluster. So it's not even a competition at all. But then when you then look at Android Auto standard, Apple CarPlay standard, apps standard, you start to see how much of a value proposition the BYD Seagull is in comparison to the Toyota Yaris. It's not even close when you start to look at it from that perspective. But the car itself, the fact that within city limits and within the driving capacity of the car, you can do roughly, even on the base model, 250 kilometers, which is 137 miles. It's a no-brainer. You can charge up at home on a daily basis, and the charging at home, it's got a 6.6 kilowatt, which means roughly, this is a 30 kilowatt battery, which means in 5 hours you're fully charged. And for the 38, again, in 5.5 hours, you're fully charged. If you come home from work at night, plug it in, you're done. You actually don't need to go anywhere to charge your car. You're in a good space. The other thing I was going to tell you about is the price point. The Toyota Yaris is more expensive, about $24,000 to the £24,000 to the £18,650 for the BYD Seagull. So you're going to be paying roughly about £5,000 or £6,000 more to get less car. There is a reason why this car won the Urban Car of the Year in the World of Worlds earlier on this year. I think that was in April. It's a better value proposition, simple and short. And I thought sometimes when people are making the discussions on the car, it's more of an emotional thing rather than being logical or about the facts that are there. You want, I said this in the previous video, if you're driving in London, for example, if you've got a zero emissions car, you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay for moving the car around within the city of London. However, if you've got a car that's got an exhaust and tailpipe, whatever it is, I think it's up to 99 grams per 100 kilograms, that's the limit of it, then you get yourself in a situation that you've got to pay about $10 a day just to be able to drive around in London. This one's definitely a no-brainer. I don't know. But you guys tell me what you think. I'm trying to tell you what I think about it. I'm giving you the facts and figures around it, and I'm trying to get you to understand why this car was so sought after. Now, for some of you, you're going to come back, and this was the third thing I wanted to try and address. You're going to think, oh my gosh, BYD's ripping us off because it's coming in at about $12,000 in China, and they're going to be selling at £18,000, which means it's supposed to be about $11,000. You've got to factor in a few things. There's the VAT charge, which is 20% of the car, which includes the cost of shipping plus export charges and everything else. So if it's coming at £11,000, it's cost about £2,000 to ship and logistics to England. That's £13,000 already. You then add 20% to that. You've got another 2,600 added to that, which then gives you about 15,600. You then have to have the dealer profit margins plus dealer logistics added, which is going to be roughly about £1,500 as well. You've got your 18,650. So this is something that is beyond BYD's control. So if you add VAT plus import duties, VAT is 20%, import duties is 10%. And that is before the dealer margins go into it. So it's not that BYD is price gouging. It's had to do with what the country's policies are. I had to learn this because I was trying to do a deep dive for another video I'm doing. I'm doing this for the Nigerian community. I was talking about BYD launching I was thinking of doing a video about BYD launching in Nigeria, which they've recently done. And this is a market that most people don't pay enough attention to. And considering the fact that it costs they do roughly between 6 to 8 million cars a year minimum. and the Chinese are now beginning to go into the Nigerian market, but that's a separate video. But what I did find out from that was the government charges on the cars themselves were about 60% of the value of the car, which therefore means that people are not price gouging is because of what the actual charges on the car are before landing. And this is the same thing with England. So if you're looking at 30% of the value of the car plus the cost of exporting plus dealer margins plus the logistics within country, you're already looking at something roughly about 45% to 50% of the value of the car already. That's where the extra charges are coming from. So, but I still think even at £18,650, I still think this is a bargain. The amount of tech that you're getting as standard, the features that are in the car, the warranty duration, 160 kilometers, 160,000 kilometers, 6 year or 7 year warranty, 8 year warranty on the battery to I think about 160 or 200,000 kilometers as well. It's a no-brainer. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Is this a value proposition? Do you want it in Australia? Now, BYD is actively considering this for Australia. You guys that you think this is going to be a decent car for you, jump in the comment section. I promise you they do read the comments. Let them know what you think, and most likely this will come in. The reason why there's so much discussion around the Seagull coming into Australia at the moment is the fact that there's a lot of conversation going on online about wanting the car in there. If you make your voice loud enough and your voice is heard, this will come. So until the next one, definitely I'll see you then. There are a few more videos that we've got lined up for you, and hopefully we've got a lot more entertainment for you. Now, before I go ahead, look, we can't continue to keep this going without your support. So if you want to support us, please go in the description. The link to our Patreon page is there. While we're waiting for YouTube to give us a nod that we can have members on our page, we've partnered with Patreon to create a Patreon page for us. So you guys stay blessed, and I will see you on the next one.